Hello there. I guess I'm live. I'm alive. Hey, Deb. Hi, Jan. Okay, let's see here. I'm just about ready. Just sorting a couple of things here, and then we will get down to business. Okay. Hey, Jennifer. Alrighty. We're pulling some people on, I guess. Where's my adoring fans? Well, I know I have some here already. Did I have to execute any nursing home people this week? No, but I've come close. I didn't have to get as nasty as I got last week, but I did ruffle a few feathers. I just got a phone call maybe 15 minutes ago saying that they're going to release my dad in 2 weeks to go home without 24-hour supervision. So I don't know how that's going to work. But when we get done here, I've got a few phone calls to make. So hopefully I'll get some home care in place. I don't know how he's going to do it all by himself, and I am not living there with him. I'm sorry. I love him dearly, but I can't live with him. Okay, let's see here. Hi, Kim. Okay. In-home care is cheaper for sure, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be, I'm thinking right off the top of my head right now, it might be like 2-3 hour shifts or something for right now. Just somebody to be there if he needs something. I don't know. I'll have to worry about that later. But yeah, he's gonna need something because I can't be there every single day, and the nighttime is a problem. So I don't know. I could get him a bride from the old country. Right. I don't think so. You know, my brother has never married, and he used to say, you know, that he was going to go to Europe and get somebody like my mother, you know, and it's like, you're living in a dream, buddy. They don't, they're not like that anymore. Women want their independence over there just like they do here. So who knows? Okay. All right. So here, I'm going to turn the camera down, and you can see, well, you've already seen it on the group page, but you can see the project here. This is the bracelet and a pair of earrings. Now, these are my earrings that I wear all the time. I like these lever back ear things. I know they're not attractive at all, but I'll tell you, I really like them as opposed to regular hook earrings or whatever. They don't get knocked out of my hair or when I brush my hair or whatever. So I'm really a big fan of these. I know that they don't do anything for the look of these, but you can put on whatever kind of ear wires you like. So I've made this as a bracelet and earrings, but this is also really nice as a chain. It takes a lot of silver, but it's a beautiful chain. One of my friends made one, a long neck chain, and it really is pretty. So it's just another option. But for this, I'm using 14 gauge sterling silver wire, and for these links, I'm going to refer to these as links. And then for the jump rings, I'm using 18 gauge wire, and I've got 5.5 millimeters and 4 millimeter jump rings for the connectors. And then I made a little toggle bar with 14 gauge fine silver, and I like that because the balls on there just melt really nicely when you work with fine silver. So you know, I did that, and then I put a 3 millimeter jump ring, soldered that onto the toggle bar. So it's a relatively simple project. You can use fine silver for the whole for all the links if you wanted, but I have tried making a few links with fine silver, and I don't like it for the hammering aspect of it. I think having the 14 gauge with the other mixed metals in there in the 0.925 silver is stronger, and when you hammer the fine silver, to me it's mushy. I don't have a better way to describe that, but it just seems like the sterling silver has more body to it. For this project, I make my rings out of fine silver, but for these links I like to use sterling. Okay, so that's just my logic for what I'm using. Okay, so let me get a little sippy here. No wrinkled balls with fine silver. That's true. What inside diameter are the links? Okay, on these particular ones, I've got my mandrel set here with different sizes, and you can pick whichever sizes you like. You don't have to do just the ones that I do. I have done the very largest one. I'm doing third from the largest, which is a 12 millimeter mandrel, and then I'm doing a 9.5. And I had at one time I had put a piece of tape on these to mark these to remember which ones I liked, but the tape, it was just like Scotch tape, and it kind of shredded off over time, but they still have the residue, so I know these are the ones that I favor, but I have done them from a variety of sizes, as you can. Do whatever you want, if that helps. Hi, Diane. Happy Wednesday to you. So I hope that helps, Deb. You know, I kind of think one of the fun things with this bracelet is that you can make them in different sizes. I tend to like, you know, bigger, smaller, bigger, smaller, bigger, smaller, but you can make them all kinds of different sizes if you wanted. If you have an oval mandrel, you can make oval links, or a square mandrel, or incorporate a little bit of the different sizes in the piece. You know, they don't all have to be circles. They can be a mix. It's whatever you want to do with it. So that's kind of fun. But you have to have the mandrels if you're going to do other shapes too. Hello, Ruth Ann. Yeah, nail polish is probably a good idea to just mark them. I don't know. My brain thinks of a lot of things, but not everything. So anyway, I'm going to actually put this on. The thing I really like about this bracelet, apart from how it looks, is that it's very lightweight. Once you have it on, you can forget about it. I mean, it's like you don't even realize it's on. It's just nice and lightweight. And silver, in my opinion, never goes out of style. And you can wear jeans with this. You can wear something dressy with this. It just seems like it's a nice all-purpose piece of jewelry. And the same with the earrings. I like lightweight on my ears. my earlobes are kind of big, and you know, I don't want them hanging to my shoulders as I get older. So I'm going to put these on. So that's one of the reasons that I really like these. They're just lightweight, and you don't even notice that you have them on. I really like the big earrings that you see that people are making, you know, with stones and you know, all cabochon set and beautiful. But I could never wear those in my ears. It just wouldn't work. I would be uncomfortable with them. Hello, ladies. Hi, Diana. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Paula. Let's see who else has joined us. Ruth Ann, I think I said hi, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, they're just really fun. So I've got a bunch of them that I've already done and polished and tumbled, I should say. And that's the other beauty of it. You know, if you have a tumbler, whenever, you know, these start to get a little bit tarnished, you can just take it all off and throw it in the tumbler. You don't have to worry about any stones or anything getting messed up in the tumbler. And in 10-15 minutes, it's beautiful and shiny again. So Deb says, if my old age ears get any bigger, I'll be able to put my bracelets on them. You know, that's funny. But I mean, I know I'm not alone, but my earlobes have never been small, but you know, they've really gotten larger. And if you notice, old people, not my category, but older people, you know, their noses and their ears always get a lot bigger. I don't know if it's they're drooping or what the reason is, but it's noticeable. Some years back, my mother-in-law was very self-conscious about her earlobes, and like in her 70s had an earlobe reduction or whatever. And at the time, I thought that was just ridiculous, but I can understand that now. So, okay. All right, people. So I guess what I'll first start off with is I've got fine silver wire, and not fine silver. This is the 14 gauge sterling wire. Okay. And I am just going to wind a few on here. I'm putting the 12 gauge mandrel in my wire winder. And I'm just going to roll it right from the coil that I have here. I can't believe this. I bought this 1 ounce of wire last week from Rio because I was running a little bit low and I wanted to make sure I had enough for today's demo. It was like $40 some for this dinky piece of wire, but oh well. Gotta have it. So, like I've shown this before, and probably people think I'm nuts for not putting my wire in here. I just have gotten used to doing it this way, and that's what I'm doing. All right. And of course, that's going to flub up just because I'm doing it differently. All right. The wire on the bottom is twisting, so it's pulling this out. Okay, so I'm just winding my wire, holding onto the wire close to the coil, and just winding around. And I'm just going to do that many. I'm not going to do more, because I might want to use this wire for something else. All right, so I'm going to, and if I would have used my brain, I would have tried to line this up just a little bit better where I was stopping. So I don't, you know, when you cut links or rings, sometimes they kind of don't line up properly, so you definitely lose like one on the end and sometimes in the beginning. So, all right, so I've got that wound. I've already got small ones made, so I'm not going to wind any small ones. All right. Now I'm going to cut them, which is not one of my favorite jobs, but it goes with the territory. So I'm going to put my all right, I'll put this together here and get my saw. Where are you? Here we go. I'm going to put a little bit of cut lube on my blade, and I'm also going to put some on my coil in the spot that I'm going to be cutting or sawing. Okay. And then kind of a nifty way to do this is put my coil inside. Well, actually, that doesn't help with the cut lube, does it? Well, I'll work that out somehow. Send some of that down there. Not great, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to put that in there. I'm not pressing this on my sternum or whatever. Some people might get upset about that, but I'm not hurting myself. I am just putting my blade in. Okay. And I'm going to, I love this bench pin. This is one from Flow Metal Studios in Milwaukee. And I like the fact that it's got these little slits in here that I can put my saw blade on here, and it kind of stops the blade from cutting me, because I'm just that bad of a sawer. Now let's get started here. I just put a new blade in, and I think I should have I put this a 2 in, and maybe I should have put a oh, come on. Did I put my... Oh, no, it's right. Okay. I was going to say, did I put my blade on backwards? Come on. Let's go. Okay. Here we go. Now we're cooking. All right. I was hoping they wouldn't go all over the floor, and they haven't. So that's as far as I'm going to go with that. Now this one's stuck in here. Nice. Okay, got it. All right. So I just have a bad one at the beginning, and I'll have a bad one at the end. All right, so I've got my rings cut. I'll tell you, I just hate this saw. I just hate it. I know some of you guys are great with it. Okay. All right, so get that out of my way. Get this out of my way. Thank God for C-clamps. They're wonderful. Okay, so now what I would normally do is take these to the sink and wash all that cut lube off. But I'm just going to wipe them off here. And then I am going to close the jump rings. And you want to make sure that that you get them nice and closed tightly, that you don't have any gap. You should not be able to see any daylight through them. They should be perfectly smooth. And put together well. Okay, so as I close them, I will put them on my soldering board and prepare to solder. But you want to make sure that cut lube is off, because it might interfere with your soldering success. And if you're not familiar, if you're not getting your jump rings closed flush, sometimes you'll want to kind of overextend. And I don't know if you can see this when I'm doing it, but I'm kind of pushing it over further than I need to go and then pulling it back. And it usually pops right into place where it should be. Okay. It really makes a difference if your rings are not closed properly. When they may appear to have been soldered okay, but when you hammer them to get the texture on there, they can pop open, and that's not good. Okay, I'm just using my economy pliers for this. I'm not using my good ones. I save those for my chainmail projects. Get that off. And when I put them on my soldering board, I always lay the cut side towards me, so that way I can focus on where to put my solder, and I'm not looking all over the place. And once it's fluxed, it's really hard to tell where that split is. Okay. Nope, that one doesn't look that good. You want to take your time and make sure that you are closing them well. Okay, so I got hot pipes today. All right. Okay, so for this you need a soldering board, a solder pick, you need flux, you need solder, a pair of tweezers, you need a quench bowl with water, which I'm going to bring that over here. All right, and I have my pickle pot close by. And let's see here. I'm going to pick solder these rings closed, so I have all my little solder chips. And I'm going to line these up, split side toward me. I've got a few others that I cut earlier. These are one of my most sold pieces of jewelry, the earrings and the bracelet. When I do shows, it seems like people are drawn to those, and I sell quite a few of them, so I like to have extra rings on hand so that I can even put them together while I'm sitting at my booth and do something productive while I sit there. And this is a little bit larger, this ring that I just put on here, but like I said before, I think it's kind of nice to mix up sizes a little bit. You could even put a much larger one in the center if you wanted to do that. But that, you know, that's totally up to you. All right, so I'm just going to line up a few here. I am using easy wire solder. You could use medium or hard. It just depends on what you have and what you want. But I kind of like to use the one that I can get in and out of the most and not scorch my silver. And sometimes the other solder takes just a tad bit longer. It's not so crucial with sterling, but it is more so with, well, you don't really need solder on fine silver. But when I do the toggle, I am soldering a sterling ring to the toggle bar, to the fine silver toggle bar. So in that case, you know, you don't want to apply more heat than you need to because you'll melt your pieces. Any questions up to this point? That's not why people think I'm nuts. They have many reasons to think that, Deb. I am not your conventional person or jewelry maker. Okay. And that could be a good or bad thing, just depends. All right, I probably don't need to solder all of these in front of you. That would be boring. The only trouble with pick soldering is that the solder tends to fly away. If you have, if you make little dips in your board, scratch little places in your board, you can lay, you know, solder in there if you wanted, but a lot of times they blow off. So keep your solder chips handy in case you need to replace them. They'll just blow off on your table anyway, so you'll be able to still get them back. You could, if you don't like pick soldering, you can take your solder piece and line it right up with the split of your jump ring. Can you see that? You can just lay that on top. Maybe I'll do a couple of them like that. And that way, when the solder melts, the ring just kind of sinks down a little bit. But I know some people don't like to pick solder. Sometimes I swear these move on their own. Diane, the fine silver fuses to itself. It is almost totally pure silver, and when you apply the heat, it just fuses together. But you have to be careful because, you know, you have to watch your heat control because you can just have a puddle of silver. But it's not a dumb question. It's something that needs to be addressed. If you don't work with it, you don't know. But it's wonderful for rings. I mean, I prefer it. I just like it that way. But for these, I like the sterling. All right, so I'm going to put a few of these on the sterling. The solder chip is underneath the split. All right, so I'm going to flux everything. And here we go. Got my solder pick. You know, Ruth, Argentium, I've not used it, and I don't intend to. And I know there's a lot of people that love it, but there are certain rules that apply to using Argentium that are different than what I'm doing. So I just try to keep it simple and use this. It may be a little bit less pricey. I'm not really sure, but there are people who absolutely love it. So I can't say because I've never tried it. I just don't want, I think you have to have separate tools or something as well. I hope you can see. Okay, I'm warming up the whole ring, the entire ring. I'm warming it up. And I'm just using a micro torch. There we go. It just melted and it sunk down. Okay, I'm using a micro torch because that's the only kind of heat that I need. I don't need a real strong torch for this job, or you're gonna annihilate them. All right, so I'll do it again, but I've got my, I picked up a piece of solder. I warmed it up and picked it up, but I'll show you that again because I kind of just skipped right to that. Got my ball on there of solder, and there it melted. Okay, so let me push that to the side. I don't really have to move them. All right, let's see if you can see this. I am heating up a piece of solder, little wire solder, and it turns into a ball right away, and I just picked it up with my pick, my solder pick. So it's stuck on the solder pick, and I'm warming my ring here, getting it nice and warm, and then I just put that little solder piece right on the split, and it's soldered. I'll go grab another piece of solder. It's on the pick. And now that one, okay, that's fine. The solder kind of went to one side a little bit, but I was able with the heat to pull it back to the proper place. So I'm grabbing my solder. If you get a lot of flux on your board, the solder doesn't want to pick up on your pick. Or if your pick is dirty with a lot of flux on there, you need to clean that off. Alright, so just keep your ring warm, heat it up all the way, and voila. It's done. Come on. This one's smushing out. Go get another one. Be obstinate. Warm up the ring. Got my little solder chip or ball on here. Place it right there, and it's on. This one, these two have the solder chip underneath the split. Warming the whole ring. And there we go. If you stay on the ring too long, you're going to fry your silver. And you'll be able to tell that it's fried because it takes on a crunchy look. Like it looks like it's fried. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm going to grab a few more pieces of solder. One day when my grandson was here, when he was little, he was down here. We were in the shop and cleaning up stuff and playing and stuff, and he saw my little solder box. Well, he couldn't read at that point, and he comes over to me real proud, and he said, "This little box had a whole bunch of little crumbs in it, so I threw it away." I threw it in the garbage. It's like, oh, that was all my solder. But, you know, I mean, what are you going to say? But now he can read, and now he knows, you know, not to be throwing stuff away for fear of the pains of death. But you gotta love them, especially when they're little like that, innocent. See, this, you can do quite a few in a very short period of time. And just keep that heat circulating. It's just kind of amazing. And then, get back over here. This one's rolling all over. Okay. I've tried it in different things. I've put them on charcoal blocks and dug little holes and all that stuff. But I guess I'm a glutton for punishment because I just like it this way, and I guess I'm used to it. Instant. Okay, here we go. Okay, so those are all soldered. I'm going to quench my solder pick because that was hot. And I'm going to quench all of my rings. Actually, I think what I'll do is just put them all on here. Quench and then throw them in the pickle pot. I always do things kind of in a cockamamie way. Okay, sizzled. They are quenched. And now they're going into a basket in my pickle pot so they can get all of that fire scale and stuff off of that. All right, so let's see. Any questions? Hey, Sonny. Okay, all right, yeah, watch on replay. Diane, it is easy. Once you've done this a couple of times, it's easy. You just have to know the basics. You have to have the right tools, and you just need the basics. That's all there is to it. Hi Julie, I am using 14 gauge wire for the round circle links and 18 gauge for the wire, for the jump rings. And where did I get my wire winder? I got this from, it's a jump ring cutting system. So you can actually make your own. Where is this? You could actually make your own. I want to get this thing out of the way because it's hot. I know that they sell these things like at your home improvement stores. It's just a chuck. It's a chuck, and but I think you can get a mandrel set like this from Harbor Freight. I'm not 100% certain, but I think so. And this one, I know that you can get the parts for it if you have somebody that can put it together for you. Otherwise, you know, if this is something you want to do and you want to invest in a jump ring cutter system, Peppy Tools has one, and Potter USA sells one. They have the whole system, so it's like the mandrels. This set, it probably looks much nicer than the one that I have right here. But it also has the little box with the slot in there that you put your jump ring coils in there, and the blade and the blade holder in there to cut all the rings. So I can put that information, resource information, on here later on for you if you are interested. Hi, Jamie. Can you wind square wire and rectangular wire for the rings? Sure you could, if you have something to make those shapes. They do sell, and I don't have it out, and I probably would have to dig for it, but there is a square mandrel to make square rings, and I think it's square on one side and oval on the other. It's just plastic. I'll post a picture of that later on the group page. And I know that you can get them. I'm not sure if it's the beadsmith who puts them out or whoever, but you can hand wrap your wire around those. There's different graduated sizes on there. They're a little difficult to work with, but doable. When I made my necklace that I had on, let me see here if I have it. I think I do. When I wore it a couple of weeks ago on one of the live videos, and here it is. And I used that for some of these links. So yeah, I used this square and the oval, and this is, I want to say this is 16 gauge wire that I made these out of. I'm not positive, but I think it is. It doesn't feel heavy enough for 14, but yeah, so you can wrap your wire around there. Yes, and you're right, Diane, and Wubbers makes pliers that have different shapes on them as well. So, you know, that's an option. That's an option. I was totally forgetting about that, but I think that's where I've got a pair of square ones of Wubbers, and I'm pretty sure I made these little connecting links with that plier, with the Wubbers plier. But yeah, you can do different shapes with that. So yeah, you certainly can. And this was fine silver. I believe this was fine silver. So it just fused together. I didn't have to use solder or flux. I made it pretty easy. So good question. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is kind of pretty. I don't wear a lot of jewelry, but that's something that's goes with anything. Honestly, hot pipes. I didn't eat anything salty, but man, I am thirsty today. Okay, so that's that. But yeah, I know somebody, because somebody made this, you know. I mean, obviously this was a homemade job, although it came in the kit. But I bought this system from the person who did this stuff before Kevin Potter had his for sale. I think he bought the stuff from this guy because the guy was old and he was ill, and I think Potter took over his business, that aspect of his business, and he used to make these, that other person. So okay, so that's that. Close up my solder so they don't spill all over the floor. Then I've already cut my jump rings for the connecting pieces, because that just takes a while to get all that stuff done. And once you at least get the demo of what I'm doing, you get the concept, I hope. Okay, Jennifer says she has a set of small metal mandrels from Contenti. It has 6 shapes like tear, oval, star. Well, that's good to know. I'm going to look them up just to have that as a reference. Thanks, Jennifer, for sharing that. Sunny, the wire is, for the links, is, for the round links, is 14 gauge and 18 gauge for the jump rings. And usually when I make jump rings, I make a lot. I make them a lot in one sitting. Of course, it depends on how much silver I have at the time, but I like to make a lot because, you know, when you're doing projects, you inevitably need jump rings for this or that. So they're nice to have. And also when you do chainmail, if you do chainmail, you'll find that you need lots of jump rings available often. Okay, so the next thing, I'm going to need my bench block. I like to put a rubber block underneath it to absorb some of the shock and also cut down on the noise. Oh, I guess I should make my toggle end. I'll do that first. So I don't really need this. What I'm going to do is work over a little dish of water, or a bowl of water. I have a piece of 14 gauge fine silver wire here, and this, I want to say, is about 1.5 inches. It's just shy of 1.5 inches, okay? And I picked that number basically to fit on one of the links that I'm going to use as the other end of the toggle. So you want to make sure that you have enough of the bar hanging over on either side so that it's going to give you a good fit and it's not going to slip off and you lose your piece. A lot of times when people say they lost their bracelet that had a toggle on it, is because the bar usually wasn't adequate for the size ring that you're using. So you want to keep that into consideration. And you don't want like a super long one either, because that's going to get in your way. So you can decide, but I like to end, when I make my bracelet, I like to end it with a large link. So that's my toggle end on this, on that end, and connected to the toggle bar. And I also like, when you're working with stuff like this, if this toggle bar was right only maybe 1 or 2 jump rings from the bracelet, you're not going to have enough slack in here to insert your toggle bar in here, and it'll be wanting to pull this big ring up, and it's not going to work. So you have to have something a little bit smaller. Just put a little bit of length with you know, a few jump rings on the end, just to give it a little bit more clearance. Okay, and so that way that works out well. Maybe you didn't have to have as many as I put on here, but I did it that way. Okay, so, but I mean, this is just so easy peasy, easy to do. And always put your toggle bar in straight and then pull it back. And you can see how that fits on my wrist. It works out pretty well. Okay, so I am going to get this wire, and I want to have it as straight as possible. A wire straightener might be a little hard to work with on such a small piece of wire, so I'm just going to straighten it with my fingers as much as I can. And then I've got a pair of cheapo utility pliers that I'm going to hold the wire in. And I'm going to work over the bowl of water, because when you're balling up the metal, if you go a little bit too far and make the ball so large, it can fall off. Okay, and then it will splatter. It's hot, it's molten. It could end up in your lap or burn your clothes or your skin or whatever. So working over a bowl of water is probably the smarter thing to do. Okay, so I'm going to again use my micro torch. I, for whatever reason, like to hold it like this. I am aiming the tip of that blue cone in the fire. See how it's already starting to ball up? Did you see that? Okay, I'm going to quench that and turn it around. And ball up the other end. But you want that tip of the blue flame pointing right on your wire, and this allows me to be able to see that. And there we go. Okay. All right. So we've got the balls on either end. I'm going to quench that. All right. And now okay, now I'm going to solder on a 3mm jump ring to this. And I'm going to use a little piece of titanium to hold up my jump ring just so that it sits in the middle of the metal of the bar. If I just laid the jump ring right on the soldering board, it would be more to the side of the, it wouldn't be centered, put it that way. The ring would not be placed in the center. All right, so I'm going to grab a 3mm. You could use a 4 if you wanted, or any size, I guess, whatever you wanted, but I think it looks a little nicer to have a smaller one. And I'm going to close the ring, and that's not hot anymore. All right, and now I'm going to actually, there's a little hole in the board, so I'm put one of the balls in there so it doesn't roll around. And I took the split of the jump ring and I'm putting that against the bar, so that gets soldered closed along with the ring soldering to the bar. Spritz it and get my solder. And I usually put a couple out in case one rolls off when I'm doing this. Get my solder pick back here. Where is it? It couldn't have gone far. Oh, here it is. I lose stuff right in front of my face. All right, you want to make sure that you center it as best you can. Sometimes I'm a little off, but you know, I don't know. It depends on how anal you are, I guess. Although I always try to do a good job. All right, I'm going to heat my solder on and pick it up. Come on, guy. It's so weird when it does that. I don't understand why it does that. But I suppose it's good that you see that. Okay, now see, this guy got picked up right away. What's the difference? I have no clue. All right, so I'm going to heat all this up. And you got to keep an eye on it because sometimes it might drift away a little bit. But once the flux is on there, it should not move. And get this all heated up nice, and then just come in here right in that split area. And I always check the back side to make sure that the solder flowed. Yep, that's good. Always check the back side to see that it is connected on there as well. Where's my caca tweezers? Here they are. Okay. So you have a nice little toggle bar now. Okay. All right. I'll get this out of the way. Then I'm going to get the rings out of the pickle. They should be done. All right. I have this little mesh basket that I will show you in just a second that had a handle on it. I think it was a Eurotool product. And I think it's actually an ultrasonic basket, sold for ultrasonics. It's just a plastic mesh. And it's wonderful to put your parts in there, in the pickle. This whole thing fits in my crock pot. And that way I don't have to go fishing for anything in the crock pot. All right. So, you know, if you're a little overzealous and put a little bit too much solder on your piece, you can trim those up a little bit on your flex shaft or Dremel, and just kind of sand that excess off. But if you don't have any of that, that's a non-issue, and then you can go ahead and texture them. This one I can feel there's a little bit of roughness there, and all I will do, but I did a big boo-boo and did not mark my solder wire, and my solder chips were empty, and the wire that I had, like I said, was not marked, but I'm almost positive it was easy. But I see that I was a little bit messy with some of this. So yeah, if you have, well, I see we lost connection there for a minute. So I don't know what you might have missed. I see we're back on. All right. Are you guys seeing it okay now? Because I see it, but it's very pixelated. I hate when this stuff happens. I really, really do. Anybody have anything they can comment? Are we here? Okay, Paula, thank you. Okay. All right, it's blurry. I can see that. All right, well, I'm just going to keep going. Yeah, well, I want the paycheck that goes with that, Deb. Okay, so anyway, once you get your rings and done, and if they needed any refinement at all, or clean up, you know, go ahead and take care of that. And then the next step would be to hammer to add your texture. And let's see here. I usually have a craft stick handy. It's still pixelated. You missed it while I was talking on the Dremel? Okay. All right, well, basically all I was doing with the Dremel was just cleaning up a little extra solder blob that I had on a couple of these pieces. Okay, so I mean, that's basically all I did. But if you don't have a Dremel, you can take a file or an emery board or something and just get that stuff off, you know, to make them a little bit cleaned up, to clean them up a little bit. All right, so I'm going to just take my chasing hammer. I'm going to use the ball peen end and my craft stick just to prevent my fingers getting smashed. And I'm just going to hammer this little texture in here all the way around. And you want to try to get even texturing all the way around. Otherwise, you'll be able to see, you know, if you look at the ring from the side, you can see one part's thicker than the other. So just try to do it evenly. And you don't have to use like, you know, super strength on it either. You don't want to flatten them so flat that they're paper thin and sharp on the edges, because I have seen that done. You just want enough texture on here that it picks up the light. These little cuts or little hammer marks, they pick up the light really nicely once they're textured like that. So I would go around all of them. And one word of caution, if your jump ring splits, if it pops open when you're hammering it, that means it wasn't soldered properly. Okay, so you would stop immediately when that pops. Don't continue to hammer, because then you're distorting that ring. But if you get it right when it opens up, you can wiggle it back together with your pliers and close it again and resolder it. It's just a little tip, because I've been there, done that, and rather than waste a ring, it's still usable if you do it that way. Yeah, the craft stick comes in handy. If you're doing lots of rings, a lot of times you'll break these, and you'll have to get a second one or a third one or whatever. But, hey, it's worth using a few craft sticks rather than banging your hands all out. If your piece is larger, though, you can just hold it with your fingers too. So you just want to get it as evenly hammered, textured around as you can. Okay. I'll just do a couple more and then I will assemble. These also make great gifts if you have somebody in your family or friends that you love enough to give them something. They're not terribly expensive to make, and it makes a nice present. All right, so normally what I would do would be I would go through and hammer all the links that I've soldered that are ready, and then I would throw them all in the tumbler and get them all nice and shiny and clean. And then whatever I'm not using for the project, I will put in a Ziploc bag, squeeze all the air out of it, and put a tarnished strip in there and save those for later. And they generally stay very nice and shiny, but a little trip in the tumbler won't hurt them. Okay, so I'm going to put these aside because you know now what the hammering part looks like or is all about. And I will, let's see here. I will get a bunch of pieces here. And I will pour out some 5mm rings, or 5.5, excuse me, 5.5s. Excuse me, 4mm. Actually, I don't need that many 4mm, because that's just on the end part where you're connecting the toggle. Okay. And then I'm going to take my better pliers and if you want to lay out your pattern ahead of time, you can go ahead and do that. Just kind of if you had different shapes, this is where it would be more useful to do that. But I mean, when you're only got two shapes, it's kind of one big, one little, unless you want to do something different. And like I said, I want to end on a large one, so that'll be my toggle end. And you have to determine how much length you need. Let's see here. to see how many rings you need. All right, so that'll be the construction for that. And then for an earring, I'll take a large and a small for an earring. All right. I'll go ahead and do the earring first, I guess. And what I do is I connect 3 jump rings between each link. And when you're putting them together, you want to make sure that the hammered sides are up for both of them. So what I normally do is turn the top one upside down. I mean, this is not a big deal, but you know, the textured side is down on this one, and the back side is on the small one. Close my ring. Get 3. So then when you lift it up, both of the hammered sides are facing forward. And then I will put, like I said, this is just how I do it. I'm going to put 2 4mm on the top. It'd be nice if my jump rings were all opened already, but they're not. So I've got 2 on the top, and then I'm going to put 1 jump ring, go in the opposite way. That will connect to my ear wire, which I forgot to put out here. So, but that's, you get the gist of that, right? You're just connecting this single ring to the loop in your ear wire. All right, so that's your earring. Easy peasy. And we do the same thing, basically. Oh, I have a straggler, a little one in with the large ones. So I'm connecting in the same way. Putting 3 jump rings in between. Any other questions while I'm doing this mundane work here? But mundane but necessary, and it pays off beautifully. I think what I'll do, rather than have you watch me put every ring by ring on here, I mean, I don't know what kind of time you guys have, but you know, it can get boring watching the same stuff over and over again. But what I'll do is I will put the toggle end on one piece, and so that way, or maybe I should just do this, and then you can see how it ends up. But take your time to make sure that they're closed nice and tight. And I know somebody had asked in the last thing that I did with some chainmail, and they asked if I soldered everything, and I said no, but the 3 rings together should be pretty strong. I don't see how you're going to you know, have anything open up unless your bracelet got caught on something, I mean, a really hard yank. You might loosen something up, but I doubt that anything's really going to fall apart. unless you're extremely abusive with it. I don't know. But yeah, I take stuff like this with me when I do shows. I don't do too many shows anymore. I I don't know. It's just a big bother. Indoor shows are easier because you don't have a tent to set up, but I like the outdoor shows much more. As far as if it's nice weather. If it's crappy weather, you're kind of screwed, but it's just nice to be outdoors. But yeah, I have to bug my husband to help me with the setup and breakdown and all that stuff, and um, he gets a little cranky with some of that stuff. He helps me, but um, he'd rather not be doing that. So I can appreciate it. So I only limit myself to art shows, a couple art shows a year, and that's it. Um, I did a variety of different shows in the beginning because I just wanted to make some money and help pay for all the expenses that I had already incurred. But I quickly found out what shows were beneficial and which ones weren't. And it just seems like the juried shows and the art shows are much better. They're much better attended, and people are more willing and appreciative of the stuff that you have, um, to pay for your items that you have spent lots of money um, investing in the supplies and tools and all that stuff for, and your time, rather than a craft show where people are selling things on a stick next to you and they want a bracelet or earrings for $5. So, that just doesn't, that's not a place where you should be to sell your stuff. That's just my 2 cents on that. But see, it is going pretty quickly. And it's just a matter of making sure that you've put them all on the proper side so that you don't have to open them up and take them out again and reposition. I'm doing a little quicker job than I would normally do closing my jump rings just to save a little bit of your time. Now I'm going to be all thumbs. And that one is, no, it's correct. I thought I put that one on backwards for a second. I like these specific sizes, the 5.5 with these. I've tried a few different sizes, and I just think that these are like the right space, the right distance between the links, and they lay pretty well against your skin instead of sticking far up. Let's see here. All right. Alrighty. All right, let's see. So yeah, imagine that as a necklace chain. That would be really pretty. Okay, so I've got, I'm to the point where I'm gonna put a couple of the 4mm on for getting ready for the toggle. And here I'm just going to put 2 and 2, not the 3. So you put 2 4mm on, and then you put another 2 in the opposite direction. You put 2 into those 2. And then another 2. How many do I have on here? I have 4 sets of 2s. You could put 3 and 3 if you wanted, just for some added strength on that on the toggle bar end, if you wanted to. That's actually what I did on the one I was wearing. Okay, so on the last set, you want to end up so that your toggle bar is going to be oriented in the correct way when you put this on. So let's see here, I need 2 more. So this last one is going to go through those 2 rings, and then I'm going to pick up the toggle bar and put that on. And then another one right next to it. Okay, so that's that. That way that clears it. You're able to get that through the whole ring. You just want to make sure when you put it on that you've got the textured side up, and don't even bother trying to texture the reverse side, because you kind of just cover up what you did on the other side. So it fits. This one might be just a tad smaller, depending on the size of the rings that you used. But you want to make sure when you're wearing a bracelet, just another FYI, as far as, yeah, see, this one is just a hair. It's really just a hair different. But you don't want your bracelet like hanging down here on your arm. That's just asking for trouble to have that slide off. You know, your bracelet should, fit you comfortably. You should have movement. It should not be, stuck on your arm. It should have movement. When you turn, when you shake your arm, it should be able to have movement. And that's good, because when the weather is hot, when it's hot and sticky outside, I don't like jewelry just, stuck on me like that. So it's good to have some movement, but you don't want it halfway down your hand. Just a little tip there. Okay, so yes, you are a dainty lady. All right, so that's it. That is making a hammered silver link bracelet and earrings. And I hope that you got something out of this demo. I have instructions printed up that I'll put on in the files in just a few minutes. And I will also dig out that plastic mandrel and take a picture of it and put that on the website as well, so you know what I'm talking about. Um, and if there's any other questions or whatever, just let me know, and I'll see if I can answer them for you. But it's nice, it's lightweight, it's pretty, it's sparkly if you keep it nice and clean, and it goes with anything. That's one thing about certain kinds of jewelry, especially beaded ones that are different colors and things like that. You try to match your outfit with it, which is all well and fine, but just depends on what you want. So I'm not certain yet what I'm going to do next week, but I will let you guys know. I've got a few things that I'm working on. And for those of you who ordered the Kumihimo kits, they are in the mail. I still have enough for 2 kits if anybody is interested. And I think that's all I've got to report at the moment. Yes, Diana, you can keep going. You could keep going with it and make a lovely necklace. You know, it would be very pretty. So yeah, I mean, it's versatile, and you can mix it up with other pieces, other sizes and shapes. So all right, guys, I will see you in the group. I hope if you make anything, make sure you post it so we can all ooh and ah over your stuff. And I hope you have a good rest of the week. So thanks for joining. Bye-bye.